Welcome back to The Truth with Trinity, and I am your host, Trinity. And if this is your first time tuning into the podcast, I want to send you a warm welcome. Here I talk about issues that happen within the black community. Okay, so the topic of discussion is why was drugs pushed into the black community? And we're referring to the black communities in America, okay? So I wanted to start off by saying, I was talking to a brother in his middle ages, and, um, he had asked me the question, why were drugs, heavily infiltrated within the black community? Okay, so I wanted to take a walk back down memory lane, and this is just a hypothesis, an educated guess. There's many theories as to why, but from what I gather, I'll share what what I know about it. So you look back in the early 1900s. So we're talking about 1910, 1908, and there was a Black Wall Street. So for those who are unfamiliar what Black Wall Street was, um, it was an area, where black people were very prominent, and just not only prominent, but prominent in business, their businesses. And so there was an area, where black people were thriving, with commerce and just dealings and lawyers, doctors. So we had all that going on. Enterprises, you can name a few: Madam C.J. Walker, W.E.B. Du Bois. I mean, you name it. So we really had something going on as black people, back then. Shops, malls, you know um, a lot. Our own doctors, etc. And what happened was in 1921 there was a massacre of Black Wall Street. Okay, so it was burnt down. Terroristic activities that destroyed Black Wall Street. And I bring that up because we didn't just come out of slavery. Our ancestors, our descendants, they didn't just come out of slavery and look to do nothing with their life and be idle. They actually were succeeding at very high rates. Okay, so you had scientists. They got out of slavery and took full advantage of what freedom that they did have. They were very eager to read and educate themselves. Become college educated, start their own businesses, and things of that nature. And so I want to speed up a little bit and talk about, um, when crack and cocaine really got on the scenes in our communities, and why. So then you speed up to about what, 1970s. So it was in our community before then, but it really hit between the 70s and 90s, I would say. Some say 80s and 90s, but I would, maybe stretch back to say, 70s through the 90s. It really hit hard in our community, through the government because of the success rate that blacks were having. And, if you want to do population control, damage control, it's sort of an act of warfare, basically, uh, without directly pulling out your Uzis and guns. So, to suppress black families, putting drugs into the communities. It broke up a lot of black families. Okay, a lot of children were affected. Black children were affected. Not having parents. Crack and cocaine. Those are very heavily addicted drugs. So, a lot of that happened, and then um, you know a lot of black men were selling those drugs, to the people in their own community. So then, you had a lot of jail sentences going on. So those are some of the ways that um, a lot of our communities were destroyed with drugs. Okay, so then there was a joke from a Klansman member. I guess he's a member of the KKK. He said, we don't even have to come and, lynch black people anymore. We don't have to come with our crosses and burn them anymore. All we have to do is, put drugs, liquor, and alcohol and guns in their communities, and they will kill each other. And we don't even have to do the hard work anymore. So that was very interesting because, there's some truth to that. Um, you know, they're they're still doing what they're doing behind the scenes, and you do have police homicide or police killings, of black men, but you also have us killing each other, with the guns, easily accessible within our communities to kill each other by design, and you have this drug epidemic going on, um, in our community, um, you know, where we're dealing it to each other. And like I said, it increases the risk for prostitution to need these drugs, especially with women and even some men. And then the incarceration of black men for dealing those drugs is very, very high. And, of course, we could mention about Caucasians being on drugs because they're on drugs pretty bad too, a lot of them. But, of course, by design, they'll get rehab for it. They won't get a big 20, 15 to 25-year, jail sentence for selling or, um, you know, utilizing drugs. They're more, apathetic, or not apathetic, but empathetic to them using drugs. So, of course, that's by design as well, because the real target, was our communities as black people. So, my suggestion to us as black people, just because the carrot, I say carrot, my little metaphors, but just because the carrot is put in front of your face does not mean you have to bite the carrot. So just because these things are, these booby traps are put right in front of our foot does not mean that we have to jump in those booby traps, okay? And, I always say knowledge is power, to educate yourself, on what's going on, okay? So we can be less controlled, I would say. That's pretty much it on this segment. It's been a pleasure talking with you all. If you would like to get in contact with me, you can at the truth with Trinity at gmail.com. Peace and blessings.